There's a problem with change initiatives. I'm Stephen Billing, and I'm sure that most managers, even in your own organisation, would agree with me. And the problem is this. Change projects spend time developing tools and strategies and thinking of ways to get managers and their staff to engage with change initiatives. And I believe this is not effective. Why? Well, there are three reasons. Firstly, change initiatives fail not in their formulation but in their implementation. It's not that the conceptual thinking behind the strategy was no good, but rather that the conceptual thinking behind the implementation was not there. And yet, change initiatives and project teams spend far more time thinking about the strategy than they do about the implementation of change. Secondly, it's not about getting buy-in. Too often, engaging with line managers and their staff in the business means working out clever ways to get them to try and understand and buy into the change that you're proposing. You try to get them to understand your world rather than trying to understand their world. And so you end up doing what amounts to manipulating your people into accepting change. Thirdly, the concentration of change project teams on designing good tools, on having more tools in the toolkit, and the project focus on deliverables elevates those tools and deliverables into ends in themselves. This takes your attention away from the real locus of change, which is in the conversations that are going on in your organisation. Changing these conversations is not easy, because it involves paying attention to what's going on around us and thinking about how we can facilitate change in those conversations, and this requires taking risks in our own contributions to those conversations. The reason that most change initiatives end up manipulating the targets of change, the reason that managers struggle with resistance to getting buy-in, and the reason that change projects concentrate more on their tools than they do on the change recipients is to do with the unspoken and taken for granted assumptions about change. People are seen as being like the parts of a machine, the parts of a car, working together as parts of a system. Or they're seen as parts of a living system, whereby some people are the head, others are the heart, and other people are the hands in the organisation. And this leads to thinking that we need to align these things with our vision and our values. These assumptions, while they are kind of drifting around, are not examined, they're just taken for granted. But humans have consciousness. They have willpower, intentions, they have choices and thoughts and ideas of their own. And humans don't respond well to being aligned. Additionally, humans working in organisations are interdependent. That is to say that they need to work together and rely on each other in carrying out their work. So, your approach to change needs to think of people not as passive recipients who need to be persuaded, not as resistors that need to be overcome, and not as heads and hearts and hands that need to be aligned. Your change initiatives will only be successful to the degree to which they allow for people's thoughts, ideas, intentions and choices about the change to be legitimately expressed as they work interdependently in your organisation.